-2, -3 for a few of you. So certainly something much, much colder will be on the way as we go into the middle part of next week. Back to you both.
Matt, thanks very much. We'll see you later on.
See you then.
Now, you might think that your garden is a tranquil haven for wildlife to visit, but that could be far from the truth, according to new research.
Yes, some wild animals might be battling it out in turf wars as they fight for food that people have left out for them. Victoria Hicks has this report.
A fox behaving aggressively towards a badger as it battles for scraps left out in a back garden. It's behaviour like this that's been analysed by researchers at Nottingham Trent University and Brighton University to better understand how urban wildlife interacts.
The research came about because we were working with the general public on wildlife, and they were asking us if they put food in their gardens for badgers, foxes and hedgehogs, what effects are that food creating between those animals? So are those animals just eating it, or is it attracting more animals together? And is there any potential conflicts or fighting between those animals by providing food?
After an appeal on BBC Springwatch, people filmed wildlife in their back gardens. That led researchers to analyse animal behaviour across almost 700 videos. What were the most surprising things that you found from your research?
So we had two things that I found really interesting. First of all was the interaction between foxes and cats. We thought foxes would see off cats and get access to the food, but actually it was the other way round. So in many cases the cats actually got access to the food and chased the foxes off. So cats were definitely top dog in the garden. Another thing we found really interesting is the interaction with hedgehogs. So hedgehogs against other hedgehogs, they're usually solitary, but what we found is when there was food present, they did try to fight each other. So hedgehogs are a little bit more feisty than we thought, and also with other animals. So we saw hedgehogs standing up against cats, they definitely saw cats off, and also foxes.
So how can we best support wildlife in our gardens and open spaces?
What we found from the research is that when we put out food, we change the interactions between animals. So if we do feed, and in many cases food is important for these species in urban areas, but if we feed, we need to feed responsibly. So try not to have it all clumped massively in one place, but to scatter it across the garden, and wherever possible, always use natural food items.
Looks like it's a hedgehog sniffing a fox.
This research is part of a wider study into urban wildlife to learn more about how we can best support it in terms of its behaviour and its health. Victoria Hicks, BBC News.
So you saw Professor Dawn Scott in the report just a moment ago. She's with us now. Morning to you. Morning. You were just saying in your own garden you've got a badger set, is that right?
Yeah, we do have a badger, and we also have foxes visit as well.
OK, so do you see this firsthand? Have you seen this playing out?
Yes, we do. I put up a camera trap and I do monitor what's in the garden, but I also have a dog, so that's a concern for me, how animals interact.
And is it no one ever messes with a badger? Is that basically the rule of how things go?
Yeah, nobody messes with a badger. They're the biggest, and they use their body to push the others out the way, so they shove them out the way.
But actually, you say badgers are less combative than other species.
So less combative between each other. So They live in a social hierarchy. So they've already sorted it out, who's top dog, as it were.
Yeah.
So they don't tend to fight over food. They already know who's going to get there first.
So when you're looking at species amongst themselves really getting antsy with each other, who are the worst?
Well, we found that hedgehogs, and we didn't expect that because they tend to be solitary and they only come together when they're breeding. But actually, when you put them together with food, they do start to fight with each other.
Do you want to explain these pictures these are recorded here? What's going on?
So what we have is two hedgehogs in a garden together, and one hedgehog has run at the other one, which we call a barge and roll. So the other one rolls up in defence, and the hedgehog that's dominant is rolling the other one out of the garden. Sometimes they roll them right across the grass, and we've seen them roll them into a pond and also down a full flight of stairs. So, you know, they don't want them there, and they definitely push them out of the way.
I've never seen that before. Presumably that's known practice, but it must have been witnessed before. But...
So we've had people anecdotally tell us that they've seen it, but this is the first time that we've got an indication of how frequently it occurs. So that's why we termed it barge and roll.
You said there was a hierarchy sort of established in the animal community. Just take us through it. Is it a sort of top 10, top 5 chart you can give us?
So it's not quite linear. So badgers is there on the top. They're the most dominant. And then we've got foxes and cats. And actually, we thought foxes might dominate over cats, but it's the other way round. Cats tend to actually dominate over foxes.
Well, you see the way my cat dominates our dog at home and the size difference between them. You can see how ferocious cats can be if they're not happy with a situation. So that doesn't surprise me, actually.
And then so cats and foxes.
So it's not quite linear, so it's quite complex. And then we have hedgehogs, but actually, hedgehogs and cats, hedgehogs see off cats. I think cats don't know what to do with them. So, so with spikes and spines, if they touch them or pat them or something like that, they don't like them and they run away.
So a lot of these interactions you're seeing because people are putting food out for wildlife. Is that just not a good idea then? Are we better letting animals forage for themselves? What's your position on that?
So I think feeding does support animals and wildlife, and for hedgehogs they're in decline, and so we do need to do what we can to try and help those populations. And in urban areas they have sort of been higher than in rural areas. So definitely feeding. I wouldn't say don't stop feeding, but I think we just need to feed in a way that's a bit more natural, a bit more sensible. So don't put a big clump of food in one place, but scatter it around the garden. And don't put too much food out. And also make your garden as natural as possible, because natural food is the best food for wildlife.
What kind of food are we talking about?
So when people feed, they feed, commercial sort of hedgehog food and things like that. But I tend to use peanuts, raisins, fruit, lots of different things that are more natural.
Peanuts? Hedgehogs like peanuts?
So badgers like peanuts.
Okay.
So I feed my badger peanuts.
Right.
Roasted or which particular?
Natural as possible, no salt, nothing like that.
The kind of nuts that you might leave out for the birds then?
Yeah, so they will anything that's naturally based rather than processed food is not good for
So not
them.
cat food, because people talk about leaving out cat food for hedgehogs.
I would recommend, if you are going to leave out food, put the hedgehog food out.
Right.
But just try to be as benefit your garden as much as possible. Make it wild. The best thing for wildlife is natural food.
A wild, scruffy garden.
Yeah,
that's what I like to hear.
Have you given your badger a name?
Yeah, he's called Boris.
Ah.
Well, there you go. Now, you can help us with this. People have been sending in pictures for us this morning. So, Lewis, this picture from Lewis, a picture
Sally
of
and Lewis.
Sorry, Sally and Lewis. A fox playing in their garden. So it's become something of a family pet. So
That's daylight there, isn't it?
hanging out. Is that quite fairly common now?
Yeah, foxes are found quite commonly across the UK in urban areas. They're quite habituated to humans and they tend to be more nocturnal, but you can see them out in the daytime.
They get very bold sometimes, don't they? Danny sent us this picture of a badger in their mum's garden. Again, that looks like... No, it's caught on a light, I think. That can't be daylight, but... So bright, so clear.
They are formidable creatures. Everything about them is quite formidable, isn't it?
So I've come across lots of different badgers. They're quite shy, actually. They tend to run away from you. They don't like you getting close.
They're quicker than you think.
Yeah.
This one from Gary in Sheffield, a picture of a fox and a hedgehog. Oh, well, there you go, having one of those. Well, apparently they're saying they're having a meal together. They're both eating sort of next to one another.
Yeah, so we did see quite a lot of videos where the animals were together and there was no agonistic behaviour, no aggression, anything like that. But the problem we have with that is the two animals. This is a potential predator and prey that you're getting close together. So what we don't want to do is actually encourage that. We want them to try to be not in close proximity because you don't know how that relationship's going to change. So let's try to not bring lots of animals together in the same place because it can cause conflict and it could also potentially cause disease transmission.
Different feeding areas is quite a simple way.
Spread it out rather than clump it.
Have you noticed what's right on your left shoulder as you've been talking all this time? It's right there. Badger right on your shoulder. Lovely to see you this morning. We're going to keep asking people to send their pictures in this morning, so you may see a few more. You can get in touch with us on WhatsApp. The number is 033